Hello, everybody. In the following video, we are going to be taking a look at time management and energy management. We're specifically going to be looking at if GPT understands some popular time management frameworks and then being able to wheel in energy management to create a kind of energy time management app that takes into account the time of day it is while also managing your energy levels and showing you what tasks are going to be important for you to fulfill. So if you want to see the text companion for this post, it will be down in the description for members on my newsletter. So please be sure to follow and subscribe to the channel and have a good day. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to be taking a look at the secretary problem. We are going to be looking at knowing when to stop. Knowing when to stop is a really hard problem. It's not something that is immediately obvious. You know, you'll start doing something and you'll be like, oh, I think that I can do this for the foreseeable future. But then the future comes and you're like, should I still be doing this? Is this a good use of my time? Fortunately, computer science has a solution to knowing when to stop. We have the secretary problem, which is a computer science assumption that basically is saying, you know, you are interviewing a certain number of secretaries, and at what point do you choose the secretary to stop and say, this is the correct secretary to hire? It turns out that mathematically speaking, you should stop roughly around 37%. 37% is kind of like the golden number to have somebody be, or excuse me, the person who is better than the last person of the first 37% is the one that you should lock in. And that math is pretty interesting. And if you want to learn more about that, I highly recommend the book Algorithms to Live By, one of my favorite books. And they go very deep into this problem. So here, for example, we have two quotes that talk about energy and stopping. So this second quote here is about saying like, okay, when do you perform best? And the second one is saying, well, time is marching forward. So I was wondering if we could use GPT to take the essence of both of these quotes, figure out what they share between them, figure out what's different between them. And then as we always do on the Bram Adams channel, come up with some app ideas that could be some program that could actually attempt to help us solve the knowing when to stop problem. So let's see what GPT comes up with. The first thing I'm going to try is what are the commonalities between these two quotes and what do they have to do with stopping and energy? And what is broader point about time management? Okay, so we're just going to be using 3.5 for this video, regular setting, system command set at the regular. And let's go. We'll see what happens. Okay, so this is what GPT came up with. The commonality is that optimizing or maximizing a certain aspect. It's about making the best decision in a situation given strict seriality. And the second one, it's about maximizing energy usage. The broader point about time management is that it involves making optimal decision choices to maximize productivity and achieve your goals. It requires understanding what energizes or drains you, as well as awareness of external factors such as deadlines and constraints. By prioritizing tasks based on their importance and impact, individuals can make better use of their time and ultimately achieve greater success. So a good follow-up from this might be, what way can we optimize our energy, or what frameworks can we use to optimize our energy? So what frameworks can be used to manage time and energy? And what I'm looking for here is kind of for GPT to maybe opine on some potential ideas about saying like, you know, the circadian rhythm, for example, or maybe talk about, it depends on kind of like what your goals are, delegation, getting rid of certain tasks, ideally heading towards deep work if you see my video on deep work. Okay, so it actually did pull up 5 frameworks that I've seen before. The Eisenhower matrix about urgency and importance is a very common one that people will use. Most importantly is the important but not urgent quadrant, right? The Pomodoro technique, which we've seen before on this channel. Time blocking from Cal Newport. Energy mapping, this was something I'm not familiar with, involves mapping the time of the days where you have the most energy and then doing your challenging or creative work during these times. And then GTD, which is getting things done as a comprehensive system that includes capturing all incoming information, clarifying what to be done. I do something similar in my Obsidian. If you want to do something similar, you should check out Ramsey's Highly Opinionated Vault on my GitHub, link in the description. And then it says these frameworks can be adapted to suit individual preferences and needs based on your personal goals and working style. So I guess an interesting follow-up from this would be to say, what would be a combination of these? So what is a combination of energy mapping and the Eisenhower matrix? What would a combination of the energy and Eisenhower matrix look like? Okay, it zoomed through as always. So a mapping of the Eisenhower matrix would be prioritizing tasks based on their urgency and importance while accounting your energy levels throughout the day. So identify your most productive time of the day and create an energy map that show when you have high or low levels. Use the Eisenhower matrix to categorize tasks based on their urgency and importance. Schedule high priority tasks during peak productivity times when you have the most energy, and save lower priority or urgent tasks for when your energy is lower, as in after lunch or in the late afternoon, which is a very common time when people people are digesting, our energy levels go down because a lot of our energy is spent on digestion. Reevaluate your task list regularly to make sure that you're making progress on important projects while also maintaining your energy. Okay, so this is interesting. So let's say that we wanted to write some Python that could accomplish, I want a visual of this. So write a stubbed out React.js app with a Node.js server backend that would allow users to input and visualize this data as well as seeing trends. One thing that I want to try is like, there's like I don't even remember what app it was on now that I'm thinking about it, but it had like bars that showed you like what time of the day. Oh, I think it's YouTube Analytics actually, where it shows you what hours of the day your videos are most popular. So it'll be like at 12, you're not getting many views, but at around like 3 p.m. your views spike or whatever, right? So for each hour of the day, display a rectangle that can show with opacity how much energy a user has. Okay, let's see what it came up with. So for the front end, we have React and Axios, that we have our energy data and setting energy data. We have our empty state. We're getting from the API energy, which would probably be a Next.js app, right? Which is interesting that it's using Axios. And then we're going to set this data, and we have a grid here that's mapping each div to a rectangle with the amount of energy we have divided by 10. So it'll basically be like, oh, if you have a 10 out energy here, yeah, we can actually see the energy data on the back end here, where it says, for midnight, your energy level is an 8, and for 1, your energy is a 7, and you would probably have one for sleeping and stuff like that. Okay, so now merge this idea with a UI for an Eisenhower matrix. Let's see how it handles that. Okay, so it's doing our task list. Okay, so again, I think one of the things that I always like to point out is that GPT is really good at handling these types of tasks where you need to set up a model for something, for example. So you want to say like, oh, I don't want to really think about what I'm going to do for the quadrant ask ID thing, and it'll just take care of that for you. It'll write it out in JSON, and then it'll put it even behind endpoints for you to access, which is super handy. So on the front end, we have the display task in each quarter of the matrix, allowing users to add new tasks. Okay, so how about we can say that you disallow certain tasks for certain energy levels. So disallow certain tasks for certain energy levels. Oh, interesting. That's an interesting way it chose to do that. So obviously the code gets cut off. Again, we have our max token set to 512 here, so the code is going to get cut off, of course, but we don't really need it to prove the point that we're getting at here. So we have our task list, but then over here now, what it changed is that we have a filter task based on the current user's energy level. So filtering tasks, task.filter energy level is the math.floor of the get current hour divided by 2. So basically what this will do is it'll get the current hour of the day, it'll get your energy level at that time of the day divided by 2. And if it's saying, hey, like you don't have enough energy to be able to handle this in your energy budget, it'll filter it out from the Eisenhower task list. What this would do, would allow you to have like an Eisenhower quadrant, and then that'll magically kind of update throughout the day, right? So like in the morning, it'll be like you're doing this task, and then as that task kind of like phases out because you have lower energy, it'll be like, okay, just check your email, right? Which would be super awesome. So I'm pretty happy with where this got. I think from our initial point, we basically took these two quotes from two different books where we were saying, hey, we know that energy management is a thing, and we know that time management is a thing, and we need to know when to kind of stop and what kind of projects to be working on. And from there, we were able to riff with GPT until we got a full stack React Node.js app that allows us to put our tasks into a JSON list and then surface them through a filter to an Eisenhower matrix that also displays how much energy we have during the day with like a kind of analytic style opacity. And here, for example, is what I was kind of visualizing in my head. So this is kind of like what YouTube does with the analytics. And I think that energy is kind of similar, where you'll have different energy levels throughout the day that'll vary from day to day. So Sunday, you might have higher energy than you had on Thursday because you stayed up late on Wednesday, and different apps will help you track this information to different levels of acuity. But I do think having a generally good idea about when you know that you're at your peak and when you're at your opposite of peak, your trough, will allow you to do more consistent work as well as feeling more satisfied with your daily life.